Again, I don't have a clue what I'm doing here or if it'll even work. Welcome to Time by the Tent. Another weekend here up at the land here on a Friday evening. Gonna get ready to go out in the woods, try to harvest a whitetail tonight and tomorrow morning, and then we got a lot of jobs to get done. We got this weekend and next weekend are the last two, I believe, really beautiful weekends up here before it starts getting cold. So I'll need your help on that. Just 67 degrees, variable winds, just beautiful. Alright, so we're going to head out to the stand in which we put up, 3 weeks ago or so. Had a deer out in front of that stand, or underneath that stand at like 3:16 this afternoon. So I was a doe. Had activity around that stand all week this week, as well as the stand in the center of the property. So, going to go out, get changed here, get up in the stand, and we'll see if we can make something happen today or tomorrow or Sunday morning. Sure appreciate you coming along on this camping and hunting weekend, but we got a lot of projects to do like I talked about moments ago. Didn't hear anything. There's 4 or 5 squirrels, and even when I got down, it's dead quiet, no wind. And when you get out of the stand, if you're a hunter, you're going to make noise coming down, you're going to make noise walking, and there's that opportunity that you're going to spook something that may be in the general vicinity of your stand just because you're making noise. You can't not make noise. The leaves are very, very dry, and nothing. I would walk a little bit, stop, listen. Nothing. You normally hear something go, snort or just take off running, and there was nothing. So I am not certain at this point what stand to go out to in the morning, because 2 weeks ago I went out to stand number 1. Let me get the chart for you so you can understand a little bit here if you're new. It may be a glare, but I'll try to I was right here in stand 4. Right here is the camp, or tent. I got a deer blind there. I got a blind out of pallets over here. 2 videos ago I was in this stand in the morning, and I had the camera go off on this stand because there was a doe underneath that stand. And then yesterday there was a couple of bucks underneath or near this stand here. So not sure what to do. 48 for a load tonight. 48 for a load tonight, and 64 for a high tomorrow, and 52 for tomorrow night, and then Sunday 74 for a high. So I will change. Got to get stuff out of the car. I left everything in the car that was not a necessity, and then I will have hamburgers and I don't know, possibly green beans or canned carrots or corn, canned corn. So, alright, got everything out of the car. Green beans and hamburger patties. Prior to starting the fire, we got a lot of leaves here, so I raked back because I burnt all the leaves in the pit and just watched to make sure that there was no wind, so that was good. But any sparks here, it won't catch a fire. We are in a high fire warning. Last week we were in a very high fire warning, or was it extremely high? One of the two. And it rained all last Sunday and Sunday night into Monday. So, and then, yeah, you can see there's the moon. I was down by the car and I kept seeing something flicker through the woods, looking up in the general direction of the tent, but in front of the tent. And I thought, what would that be? Is that the neighbor over there? Like if they got a deer? Because I think maybe, you know. And then I looked and it was gone, and I had my sidearm and my flashlight, and because the way it looked, it was like right up in this area. Well, it's the moon. It's almost a full moon. Last night was a full moon, or the full moon. So it was the moon, just coming up in a different area that I'm not familiar with. So things you got to be kind of aware of, because it just looked like 2 people walking through the woods. You know, up over, you know, over in Holly's secret garden, or secret garden area, where she's got a lounge chair above the wetlands. So, all right, you know how this is going to go, and I will see you in the tent once I get this cooked. So I got the stove going. It's 56 in the tent. Last week it was 51 and damp, so I wanted to get the stove going, at least get the chill out of the air. I got this pallet last week. Well, I got the pallet from the neighbor. I got to clean up some of the nails here. When I got all the pallets from him, Northwoods Dream, I think is the channel. Link is in the description. And a couple of them are out there as deer blinds, and then some of the pallets are for the wood hut I made. And this one was small, and I tried to figure out what to do with it. So I'm going to make it into a table. I've got a log that I'm going to cut and split into 4 legs, and then this will be the tabletop. This is just a thick, well, I don't know how thick, of a piece of plastic that came out of a flat screen TV. Okay, just a TV. They're all flat screen now. I scrap them out when I see them. We had an old TV, and then we found one on the property, and then what was it? Found one on junk day somewhere. And it's amazing the components inside of a TV and how all of it works. I mean, right there. If you take that apart, There's about 4 to 5 different plastic layers, and then it's aluminum or a metal casing, and then there's aluminum strips with little glass dots that will illuminate the image on the screen. It's really fascinating how it works. So I break all the components down and recycle and get money for it. But I save stuff like this, and there's a difference between a hoarder and a planner, and this is for the planning stage. So I'm going to get the nails taken out. I'm going to try to figure out how to cut this down in order to get it completely covering the wood. I'm not going to nail it down because I don't want it to break or anything while I'm putting the legs on. The legs are that other half of that bench, the big bench out there. I'm going to take a 3-foot. So the purpose of this is to have it outside the same height as a kitchen counter, so you can prep food, prepare whatever dishes on it. So you're standing at the regular height. You're not bent over or sitting down at the table or picnic table if you don't want to do that. So that is that. Other than that, I'll get this and you'll see the final product tomorrow or the next day. You'll see it in this video. And I will see you in the tree stand in the morning, and we'll see. I still don't know where I'm going. I got to figure that out too. So I'll see you in the morning. It's just about 10 o'clock. Couldn't get a better morning. Nice temperatures, clear skies, light wind. If we had a deer harvested, it'd be a better morning, but sitting in the stand, you can't get much better. This is one of the last weekends that's going to be this warm and comfortable. Next week it's supposed to be more chilly. They never got any activity on the other cameras. Now, whether they were able to send something if something was in front of them or not. The stand I was in last night, that camera didn't update this morning, which it hasn't for a number of mornings, but it will take pictures throughout the day. So, grunted and called and rattled a couple of times this morning. Nothing was working this morning. Few squirrels, not many. So, head back down to the tent and plan out the day. A lot of stuff to do today and tomorrow in amongst the hunting. Well, came up empty-handed right at the end when I was getting out of the stand. I lowered the bow down, and I looked, and if I'm standing this way in the stand, about 45, 50 yards that way, the big doe and the two fawns came down out of that, off that hillside, and ran the edge and ran behind about 50 yards, and then arched around and then headed back into the middle of the property. It wasn't something that I did. They were already on the move, and they had already decided where they were going to go. They stood there for a while behind me, maybe 15-20 seconds. I pulled the bow back up and loaded an arrow, and then as they ran off, I bleated at them a couple of times and did a fawn call, a distress call, and they weren't interested in that at all. So never have seen deer move through that area in the way they did today, so that's good to know that they come off that hillside, or they can. So we've seen them on camera, the doe and twin fawns, I guess is what they would be. So now it's time to change and transition into get things done mode, and then head back out this afternoon and see if I'd like to put another stand up over on this side of the property and hunt in that tonight and see if that creates any activity. So we'll go from there. Got our flag up from emflag.com. It's good there. Also, I installed a new addition here. This is a solar panel from Herd 360. We paid for this, not a sponsored deal or anything like that. We purchased all of our trail cameras that are Tacticam through the Herd 360 as well, because they've got really good deals. Herd360.com, I think, is the company. And then we bought the chew-proof cords. We did buy the ammo boxes, I think from Harbor Freight, and the batteries we got online. 12 volt batteries. So the reason why we purchased this, now this is I think it's 9 by 9 or something like that, 25,000 milliamps, and you can see on the bottom it is charging. It's almost completely charged, and it's got multiple outputs for 6 volt, USB 5 volt based on your camera needs, 12 volt. The reason why, last year we learned that the 12 volt lead acid batteries was not lasting as long as we had thought they would. The story goes, we purchased the property in July, and we had 2 cameras, one here and one in the woods, and we had that battery, or that type of battery in both of them, and they ran from July until I left, which was November 18th, packed everything up and headed home for after deer season, and everything was packed away. And the camera worked and fine. Well, 2 weeks later, the camera stopped working. I pulled the camera out of the woods whenever deer hunting was over. I had 2 at that point, and really had no problem with those at all either. Then left November 18th, everything was fine, and then early December, the camera stopped working. No, it was December 14th the camera stopped working. So I asked the neighbor over there, Northwoods Dream, Dan, if he would come over and see what was going on, and he came over and said he pulled the battery and charged it. And 2 days later, or next day, he put it back in, and it ran till January 5th or 7th. And I said, something happened again. Okay, I'll charge it. And I said, if you can charge it this one time, and if it does this again, I'll come up and fix it or figure out what's going on with it. It ran for another 2 weeks, and it was 2 weeks before I got up here, which was February 7th. So the batteries weren't lasting as long as I thought. Well, part of the issue was I never thought of this, was because they need to be topped off with water. They hold charge better whenever you have all the cells hydrated, which I should have thought about this. On the farm, we checked all the batteries all the time, but also on the farm, you're pulling energy out of the battery on a tractor, but the alternator is putting energy back into the battery, which there's an in and output, which causes the water level to decrease at a lower rate than just fully sucking all the energy out of the battery here and nothing going in. So, though we're staying up here later this year and leaving the tent up, this was the option that was going to be a fix-all to end-all. Especially when the trees drop, or the leaves drop, we get full sun for most of the day, and it's going to absorb, but 25,000 milliamps. The little battery packs we use to charge our phones are 20,000 milliamps, and they work phenomenal. So, and I've seen great reviews. This was based on what I understand the owner of Herd 360 spent over 10 years developing this type of solar panel, and it was sold out for a while, and I got notification. We instantly bought it, and I think they might be out again because it's such a popular item. So that is that. And then I also have gotten, I've got the tree stand pulled out and the tree steps pulled out. I got to get the saw there, which is right there, and I'll go out and hang that momentarily because I want to see if I can find a tree and get that hung. As it's almost 11:30, and then go back out there about 3, and that'll give me 3 hours of hunting tonight. So, alright, found a tree. There's a tree stand about 24 feet up. However, where I'm standing at on this old logging road, it goes down about 8 feet, so realistically I'm only about 16 feet up. And I had to cut down that tree right there with a handsaw, or the bow saw. Even though it would have been a great cover for me, it limited all the shooting lanes except for one. And I didn't want to be like on this tree here, right over top of this trail, because that wouldn't be good. So I'm 15 yards off the trail, and then if you go that way 75 yards, you'll run into the bow or the gun blind. So I'm going to cut a trail from behind the tree. I got to bring 3 more steps when I come up and sit in it tonight, and then a pull rope. I'm going to cut a trail that way so I'm not walking up this logging road and disturbing anything that may be in the logging road. I got a lot of options. I can see a lot of territory, even though I may not be able to shoot only a specific area. We'll try this one tonight and see what it does. So there is the deer blind, and then around there is, you can start seeing the markers there. I go in, and then it's about, I think, 25, 30 yards. So I'm not walking through one, having to clean all this trash out of this old logging road, and 2, I'm not walking down going, hey, I'm getting in my stand, if there's anything here, look at me. So that's why I wanted to go around the backside and go up there so I'm not disturbing anything. And then if somebody's hunting in this, which nobody ever would, but example wise, somebody hunting here, they're not going to see what I can see, and I won't be able to see what they can see. Not that anybody's hunting besides me, but just to give you a little reference there. Alright, I'm going to go back, start the fire. Got meatballs to warm up. I got to clean some of this more trash out of here just so I can get a clean walk. And then I'll meet you back at camp. Barbecue meatballs, and then a slice of challah bread, which is a Jewish bread. We have a friend that makes it. And then that will be lunch. I'm going to try to head out to the stand in about 2 hours so I can get a few projects done after I eat. And then head out to that stand we just put up. So I went over, and the bottom half of that bench is this. I cut it in half, 2 3-foot pieces. And you can see where I went too deep, had to back out and then recut it for that top one. And the bottom one, I was going to cut a chunk out of it, and I got 4 inches in. That was going to be for the back of that bench. I brought them, I cut those, brought those. That was going to be, the thought was going to be, divide this in 4 pieces, split it down the center, and have, you know, like 1x4s or a true 2x4s, and use that for the legs of this pallet table that I'll have outside permanently. I'm not going to do that. Those logs are not wasted. I'll put them behind the storage tent. But I put the plastic on last night. What I'll do tomorrow, next week, I'll go and get 4 3-inch diameter pine logs. I'll cut a tree down. I'll just walk across the trail to the other side of the property. Cut 4 36-inch. It's raining a little bit. Cut 4 36-inch long legs, and then just notch the top to fit in the corner of that pallet, screw it together, and if I need side bracing, I can go down and get some 1-inch limbs and cross brace it and hold it together. And I don't know where we're going to put it, probably, I don't know, somewhere over here. But I thought it was going to rain. They said 6% chance of rain. Clouds rolled in. It's not going to last long, I don't think. So I will leave those in the wagon till tomorrow, and I'll just stack them. I got a pallet behind the tent, storage tent here. I'll just put them on that pallet to let them dry, because them are real heavy. And at some point, if I don't, they're going to be a project that I use them for something, so it's not a waste. But I'm just thinking the energy that I would utilize in the chainsaw and the blade and cutting everything and split for a table that's going to get used periodically, it's not worth it. It's not like a piece of art or something. So, but I got them here. That's what I wanted. So, all right, I'm going to take a shower, sop and wet, use some scent-free soap, then get dressed and head off to the that tree stand we put up just a little while ago. A little after 3 o'clock. Gets dark tonight at 6:34, so that'll put me about 3 hours in the stand. And in that new stand, we'll see what, if anything happens. Very windy, 10 to 20 mile an hour wind gusts. And quite warm. You're looking at 70 degrees. So, be comfortable sitting in the stand. It's pretty. It was too dark to film. Legal hunting time was 6:34 tonight. And behind me and to the right at 6:30, you could distinctly hear a deer walking, because I've got that old logging road there. And it got within 8 steps of the tree that I was in. I couldn't tell what it was, but I could see this object come, stop, and if it would just walked out, I would have had enough light in that open area to see what it was, and I would have took it, whether it was a spike or an 8-pointer or a fawn or a doe or whatever. So it stopped, stood there for a long time. I didn't even try to turn the camera on because there was no way it was going to film. And then it stood there for about 30 seconds, and then you could hear it go boom, 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 back about 20 yards, and it stood there, and by that point legal hunting time was over. So I'm up in a tree, and I think I've got a deer, which I am assuming it was, behind me 20 yards. So I hoot like a barred owl, and I did that once, and it didn't move, and about 10 seconds later you could hear it kind of walk off back in the woods at more of a brisk pace, but it never snorted, it never blew. So it was a deer of some sort, and for whatever reason it stopped 8 yards or 8 steps below and to the right, not directly, but slightly behind, to my right, and 8 steps from the tree, and probably 1 yard behind the tree. And I would have had a 12-yard shot if it had just kept moving. So I saw that one tonight, and then had that big doe and 3 fawns this morning, or 2 yearlings. They're much larger than a fawn, this morning. So tomorrow I'm going to go out to this stand that I was in last night, Friday night, the stand that put up a couple of weeks ago, and see if that does anything. I don't have answers. I don't have distinct bedding areas to feeding areas. I have 40 acres of woods that is in combination with an adjacent 1.5 million acres of woods, with corn, soybean fields many, many miles away from the location. So that's all I know. I'm going to get changed, get the fire going, cook hamburgers, and canned carrots, and have some more of that challah bread. Eating in bed, hamburgers, and then the challah bread, and then the canned carrots. They have been cooked. Watching Three Stooges on the Catchy Comedy channel. It's a free over-the-air, and probably most of you have that available. Each weekend they feature a different old-time show. It could be Petticoat Junction, it could be Andy Griffith, it could be Three Stooges, Three's Company. The endless amounts. So I'm sure you have it in your area, but I enjoy Three Stooges, so I'm going to watch that while I eat. And then that's just a camera telling me that it's on, the one out that I turned on to camp, because I've closed up the tent for the night. So it's one of those weekends where it's just going to be food hunting. Tomorrow afternoon there will be projects. I would like to sight in the muzzleloader. I would like to start on the DVD tower, get this table done. The cable I don't think I'm going to hang this week. I'm going to wait till Holly comes up next weekend, just so there's another person we can measure and make sure we get the right height and all that. So I think that was it. Yeah, hang the tree stand. We've done that already. So anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow. And then we'll evaluate how the hunting went, and then what projects we can get done before we got to wrap things up for the weekend. Well, it's 10 o'clock. I haven't seen anything. Very comfortable morning to sit in a stand about 55, 60 degrees. A high today of 72. Then tomorrow it's supposed to be 72 up here. Tuesday 72, and then Friday or Wednesday 49 for a high, 48. Front comes through, and the next weekend it's supposed to be highs in the mid 50s and lows in the upper 20s, low 30s. So a dramatic change in the next 5 days up here. Yeah, I didn't see anything. So I don't know. Disappointing. Been in the stand 2 hours. It's rounded. 2, 6, 9 by 11 hours in the last 3 days. Had that one deer last night. The silhouette or the brown blob of whatever it was come in underneath me with 3 minutes to go. It didn't blow, it didn't snort, it didn't do anything. It just stopped, then trotted back. Had that doe and the 2 yearlings yesterday morning, 45, 50 yards behind me, circling around. They were already on the move from something else. And so I've seen more deer yesterday in 2 different stands than I have seen the entire year in all the stands that I've been in. And most of last year only saw 5 deer from the stand and harvested 3 of them. So, but we've got a lot of deer on camera though, a lot of bucks on camera. So I don't know. I will see you back at camp momentarily. Okay, so there's the tabletop. I went across the trail, other side of the property, just because it was quicker and easier. I cut these down. That's kind of an iffy. I'm not happy with as mushy as that is. And I did 2 of them just to see. This one's much better. And then I got this one here, which is a very nice, straight, solid, good piece. Not mucky at all. So I think what I'll do is I'll cut this into 3-foot sections, notch the top so it inserts the 2x4. I may just take and do enough to square it so it sits a little more flush, because I don't have the material in this one to do like this, and I'm not comfortable with that flakiness of that. So that's what I'll do, and when I get it together I'll show you what I got and see if there's any additional things that need to be done in order to make it more sturdy if need be. Okay, so just from what I've done, fairly sturdy. I'm not going to worry about cross bracing because this is something that 2, 4, 6 years maybe will last and make a new one. But this is a perfect size. You got almost like a cutting board here, but I wouldn't cut into it. But it's a wipeable surface, so nothing's infusing into the wood. Waist high, 36 inches high. This pallet, which was again given to us, the pallet itself, 29 by 28. And again, we are 37 inches high to the tabletop. So very pleased with this. Came together quite nice. All free material. The nails were free. The screws were free. The pallet was free and the logs was free. So probably gonna, I don't know where I'm gonna set it at. Probably for the time being set it over by the barbecue grill. Just I don't know. I'll figure it out. But this one's done. Now, yesterday I went down and cut another log for a VHS DVD tower, and then that's for a 6-bay. I'm going to go down and cut a log for a 2-bay and get that completed today, and then work on the 6-bay in the weeks to come. So that's on the to-do list. Alright, so there's the small tower that will hold 2 bays for VHS or DVD. This is the 6-foot that will hold 7. And that'll be just kind of a work here and there. I'll get more out of the bottom because it's much wider. I'll probably be able to get 6 VHS, 12 DVDs. That one's probably going to be 4 and 4, maybe 5 and 4, something like that. Anyway, then when I was down at the parking pad, I thought about this in the tree stand this morning. It's going to be nice and cold next week, and colder till next spring. And since we're leaving the tent up, I went down. I do have some firestone underneath, fire brick underneath the stove, but I was thinking, let's put a layer of rock underneath the stove to try to retain some heat. Now, I know that there are certain rocks that are better for retaining heat under a fireplace or a wood stove or along the wall. People do that in order to retain the heat overnight and then it releases. I don't know what I'm doing here, but we're going to try to retain some heat since we're not having to take the tent down. Let's try to make it as cozy as possible when it is 30 and below, freezing and below in the tent. So I'll get to that. I'm going to start the fire first and get the rest of the meatballs cooked up and probably canned corn, I guess. Okay, had the rest of the meatballs, corn, and some challah bread for lunch. Didn't show you that, you know what that looks like. I'm going to sight in my muzzleloader. Purchased this from, this is a second-hand muzzleloader, got it from a gun shop, certified gun shop. It's a CVA break action. I forget the model, I think. I don't know, I got the paperwork somewhere. But I've got it in a mycasebuilder.com case. They sent this to me. You go to mycasebuilder.com. There's one. And the way the system works is you go and you create an account and you download their app, and then you photograph or you take images of your firearm, long gun, handgun. I'm not sure, I don't know if they can do bow. I don't remember, but for this was a CVA break action muzzleloader. It's a Optimal Pro 50 cal, and I did the scan exactly as the app indicated, and it fits perfectly. And then the person I was working with put some of these pockets in here so I could store extra things if I wanted to. So that's optional. You can kind of do it however you want, but this is the kind of case that if you're traveling with your firearm, this is what you want. This thing could fall off a building, I think, and still would not damage the gun. I mean, it is beefy, and it is a very well put together piece of equipment to protect your firearm. So I am going to, again, mycasebuilder.com is the location, and I appreciate them sending this to me to show you. And I'm going to get all the components together to see how this gun performs. I had a muzzleloader back years ago. I had a CVA, a bolt action. I've wanted to CVA. CVA is a very well-known name, very good name product. So I've got to finish putting together the target down there. I've got the table with the pillows set up there. That's at 48 yards because the way the tent straps are, I'm not going to pull them up in order to shoot an extra 2 yards. I've got one blind that would give me at least a 70 to 80 yard shot. So if this hits dead center at 50, I would know to elevate it a little bit. I'm not going to shoot anything more. I don't have the ability to shoot 100 or 150 yards like I would be setting on the edge of a field or a timber cut. Just nothing's. You've seen where I hunt at. So you're looking at 50 yards, 60 maybe. I've got the shotgun set at 30, which would work at 50. So this will give me an extra week or so of availability of hunting, and I got a really good deal on it. That one was used, and it doesn't look like it was ever used, but it's used. I think I got it for $126 with tax, and then with all the additional components, the powder, the bullets, and all that, we spent another $100, $125 on that. So still much cheaper than buying a brand new one, and you can spend a lot of money on a CVA, a Thompson Center, whatever brand you want. So let me get this all set up, and we will see if this is sighted in at 100 or 50 or where I need to adjust it. I would like to shoot 3 times and it hits where I'm shooting at, and I say, okay, it was sighted in at 100 yards or 50 yards and I'm good to go. But we'll see how that works. Now, if you're not familiar with a muzzle loader is all the ammunition, powder, the bullet, everything gets fed manually through the muzzle or the end of the gun to the base of the barrel, and then you put a primer cap or a firing cap on it that's, in this instance, all waterproof. The old time you'd put a little black powder in a pan and it would spark and it would go, and it would go boom, and then that spark would go inside the barrel, light the powder, and shoot the bullet. That's the old time muzzleloader. This is all waterproof. It's the same primer that we use for the perimeter alarm. But here, let me pull this out. The brake action, that's where you put your firing, your primer cap on, and then everything gets fed through the barrel, and this is your ramrod, in which seeds everything safely down so you can fire the bullet, and I'll show you all that. But that's what we're looking at. I got to take the tag off because we're done with that operation. Now I do keep all of my components in this Rubbermaid tub. Manual bullets, I'm shooting a 295 grain bullet, 150 grains of powder. That's your primer, your priming caps, cleaning, measure, wipes, a flask, another cleaner, bullet starter, wads to clean the gun with. So everything works really nice here, and I know where everything's at. I got to unpack everything, but it's all right here. So it's not. Some people keep, in a bag or whatever. This was free, and it works well. So I've got to get this thing put together. I've got to put some lubrication on the breech plug and get it loaded up, and we'll take a couple of shots and see what happens. So black powder puts a white smoke off. It cannot be smokeless powder. So I've got a little bit in my hand. That's what happens on a much larger scale whenever I shoot the gun. That's why they call it a smoke pole. The amount of smoke that comes out, that's burning that powder. You saw in the video, it hit where I was aiming at, so let's see how close we were. Oh, okay, I see. We're shooting low. Yeah, we're shooting low. So, let's see. So that's the way it would have been setting up, because I had the tape on top to hold it down. So at 50 yards we're shooting low. So I will adjust the sights and shoot again. And if I can get within, you know, right in that area, I'm fine with that. So readjust and try it again. So that's the way it was setting. I clearly pulled the trigger. It went more to the left than needed to. So let's load it up one more time and shoot it one more time to make sure. Well, I'm going to raise it up a little bit more and then figure out what to do. Okay. That's the way it was. So at 100 yards, that would be correct. It shot right there. So it's dead center. Look at all the shrapnel impregnated into that cardboard from when it blows out the back end of it. That's the way it's facing this way. All that shrapnel. Busted the top of that board. Okay, so we're going to call that good. We know it's sighted in at 50 because it started there, went there. I went way high on the adjustment. So at 100 yards, that's where it'd be. So I'm going to drop it down just a tad, and it'll be right where we need it to be. So I'm happy with that. So I adjusted it and moved it back down a little bit so it won't shoot as high, and left it alone. If you're doing this, you want to photograph, and you've got open sights like I do, you photograph where it is. There's a grid on both portions, the top and the bottom, so you know where it is when you sighted it in. So now I can refer back to that whenever I take it out of the case for muzzleloader camp, or if I think it's gotten bumped, I can go back in my phone in the stand and look to make sure that everything's still lined up with the top line and the bottom line. So now that was the fun part. The not so fun part is the 15 to 20 minutes it takes to clean this gun properly so we can put it back in the case so it's ready to go for muzzleloader camp. And if you've cleaned a muzzleloader, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to bore you with the monotonous of cleaning the barrel and wiping and patches and all this other stuff. But that is part of the process of a muzzleloader, is the cleaning of it, because it burns that powder. With a regular casing, like a 12 gauge shotgun, it's not necessary to clean that gun every time you shoot it. But this here, I stretched it. Usually about 2 times I would recommend running a pad through the barrel. I shot it 3 times just to make to stretch it a little bit. And now I'm going to scrub it out, clean it out, and do the proper maintenance on it so it will last for many, many years. Well, got it all clean, back in the case. Again, big thanks to mycasebuilder.com for sending the case to be used. Gun sighted in, ready for muzzleloader camp. And we got to get through bow camp and then deer camp, and then it's muzzleloader camp, and then if I choose, we will go back to bow camp depending on weather and tag availability. All right, got the DVD tower, VHS tower, storage tower done. Do 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom, VHS or 10 and 10. 2 DVDs equal 1 VHS. So now I got the wagon in the tent. Last job of the day before I go. And I'm going to surround the bottom of the stove here with the rock. I do some fire brick down there. I'm just going to use what I can and not get it out, in the walk area. But this is the port, or the area that the floor opens up for the Ozark Trail wall tent. So we'll see what it turns out to be here. Alright, so there you go. Again, I don't have a clue what I'm doing here, or if it'll even work, but getting some of that heat to absorb in the rocks and then release is the premise. I don't want to fill all this in where the dirt's at, because, the difference between this and this is a very thin piece of tarp, so I can't imagine it's making that big of a difference, but we walk in that area. So, rocks under the stove. We'll see if it works. Next week will be a good test when it's down in the 30s at night. Well, my friends, thank you so much for coming along with me on an extended weekend. Let's put table in the comments below. T-A-B-L-E. If you've made it this far. The three of you that have, thank you very much. It was we had deer activity, just couldn't make anything happen, and I don't know if it was our fault or just the way things happen. So, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, I'll see you then.